opioid epidemic continues to be a huge problem in the United States, and it's costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. So Bernie Sanders wanted to get to the core of this issue, and the core of the issue is the drug manufacturers. And he is honestly the first politician I've seen aggressively push for consequences for these drug manufacturers. A lot of the consequences by our current Justice Department have been focused on pharmacists and healthcare providers. But again, we need to get to the root of the problem, and Senator Sanders understands that. Now, Bernie Sanders says that the bill is aimed to hold opioid manufacturers accountable for their role in the epidemic and force them to help pay for the crisis, which the White House Council of Economic Advisors has estimated cost more than $500 billion in 2015 alone. So what would it do? First of all, it would ban marketing that falsely suggests an opioid does not have addictive qualities or risks, and would fine companies that are found liable for contributing to the epidemic $7.8 billion. So also companies that violate the marketing provision would be fined 25% of the profits from their opioid products. And it would create criminal liability for top executives of pharmaceutical companies that are found to have contributed to the epidemic.
Get it.
Now, currently, the legislation does not have any co-sponsors, no Republican co-sponsors, obviously, and certainly no Democratic co-sponsors either. But during an interview, Senator Sanders was quoted as saying, it shouldn't just be the taxpayer that has to pay for the damage that they did.
So let's talk about the two huge upsides of this bill, and then of course the downside of no cavalry for Senator Sanders as usual. Send in Allison Hartson, for God's sake. Okay, so the upsides. Number one, what corporations have done en masse in America is privatize the gains and socialize the losses. So all of us taxpayers, we have to pay $500 billion in costs. Why? Why do I have to pay for it? I didn't make any money off the opioids. Did you make money off the drugs? My guess is you didn't, right? But the pharmaceutical companies, they made billions upon billions of dollars. And are they going to put in money to pay for all the costs that they created? No. All the gains they take home and get their yachts and their mansions, and all the costs, they go, suckers, we're gonna put it on you. Hey, Republicans that pretend to care about taxpayers all these years, where are you? That's $500 billion that the United States taxpayer has to pay. Nope, nowhere to be found. Why? Pharmaceutical companies, #1 donors to politicians in this country. They just bought them, they bribed them. That's what they did, it's legalized bribes. Well, Sanders is unbribable. And he doesn't take corporate PAC money, and he's stuck to the same principles throughout. That's why they despise him. Oh, he's the most hated man in Washington. Why won't you just take the bribes and do what we all do? Why do you have to insist on actually trying to represent people? Yeah, I don't want to pay the money. I don't want to pay the $500 billion. I didn't create the problem. Let's go take their profits. And by the way, this is modest. They think that Bernie Sanders is the pitchfork crowd. No, the pitchfork crowd doesn't want 25%. They want 100%. Okay, you ain't seen pitchforks yet. So take the deal that he's given you. But people in Washington are too corrupt to do it. The second part that's even better. You put one drug company executive in prison, and there won't be any problems left. You think those guys that are making all those tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, you think they're gonna risk their own ass going to prison? No, all of a sudden, oh my God, I just found out that we sent over 20 million pills to a town in West Virginia that only has 3,000 people. Oh golly gee, is that illegal? Is that a pill mill? Well, now when they keep all the money and there are no consequences, they keep doing it over and over again. You put one of them in prison for knowing it and sending those pills anyway, all of a sudden, oh my God, yeah, we gotta find out what's going on. Where are the pills going? Where are the pills going? I don't wanna go to prison. Oh, that'll straighten them out real quick. But in this country, rich people don't go to prison. They just bribe politicians.
It's kind of amazing who gets demonized in the United States and who gets away with literal murder, right? Not literal murder, but basically.
Those 63,000 people died.
Yes, yes.
And that's per year, by the way.
Per year, exactly.
And I'm not calling it murder either, but that's a lot of dead folks with no accountability.
Yeah, but my point is, go through these news cycles where some stories demonize the poor, other stories demonize literal children who just experience their peers or their teachers get gunned down simply because they're calling out for gun control. We demonize minorities, we demonize immigrants, but we never hear, the mainstream media demonize pharmaceutical companies with their insane tax breaks, with the fact that they're able to charge us whatever they want for their drugs and we're not allowed to negotiate those prices. They're able to market drugs that are addictive and can literally kill people throughout the country, tens of thousands of people every year. I mean, those are the people who are worth demonizing. The Wall Street bankers who destroyed the economy and then got a bailout and nice cushy bonuses. I mean, those are the people that we should be focusing on. And so, like, the broader thing that I want to bring up in regard to this story is that when you see politicians like Donald Trump or some other lowlife arguing that we should be talking about building a wall and hating on immigrants, they're distracting you from the real criminals. These are the real criminals. These are the people who are robbing us, who are making a ton of money, not paying their taxes, and then later socializing the losses, as Cenk mentioned earlier. Those are the real criminals.
All right, last two things in this. Now think about, why does cable news never talk about the drug companies and the real culprits? Well, just turn on cable news for a second, but only for a second, and you know what you'll see?
Super beta prostate.
Exactly. You will see nonstop drug ads. Hey, are you having trouble with your penis? Are you 98 years old and have trouble with your this and your that and this organ and that organ? I've just given CNN literally billions of dollars in advertising. You think CNN's gonna bite the hand that feeds them? No. And then you turn to Fox News. You know who they blame it on? Going along with Donald Trump, the Mexicans.
Yeah.
What do the Mexicans have to do with pharmaceutical companies? Did the Mexicans cross the border and immediately seize drug companies? Okay, this doesn't have anything to do with marijuana. This doesn't have anything to do with that stuff. It has to do with legal opioids.
That's right.
And if anything, first of all, more legal opioids kill more people than the illegal opioids like heroin. But second of all, the heroin addiction spiking is because it started with legal opioids. That was the gateway drug. So finally, the last culprit is all of the corporate sellouts in Congress. Like, perfect example, Dianne Feinstein. Get her out, get her out, get her out. Put Allison Hartson in. Why? Look at this case. So is she gonna help Bernie Sanders? No, no cavalry, of course. They ask her in a town hall, are you gonna do Medicare for all? She says, maybe later. You're 84. You're 84, you've been in Congress you've been in politics for 50 years. When is later? You know what she did a week later and why I'm telling you this story? She went and raised money from the healthcare companies. She doesn't represent you. Almost none of these people represent you. They represent their donors. They're messing with you and they're letting them take all the profits and all the costs are on us. And right now the one guy fighting for us is Bernie Sanders and they wonder why we support him. They can't figure it out, that's why. You just watched the video by the Young Turks, the home of the revolution. If you'd like to get the full show, come join us and become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.